everyone, it's Martin from Derico UK here. We're just going through our reloading for beginners process. If you've been following the channel so far, you'll see that we've been through decapping, wet tumbling, which is cleaning the brass, annealing it, and in the last video we full length sized it using a set of Hornady dies. In today's video we're going to be moving on to the next step, which is expanding the necks. Okay, so for those of you who watched the previous video, you'll see that we used a set of Hornady dies, full length sizing dies, but the die itself had the central stem removed out of it. That's this part. So the part at the very end there is the part that opens our necks back up again and sets our neck tension so that we can suitably seat the bullets into these cases. Because I choose not to do it that way, and again I've said it throughout this series, this is how I choose to reload. Some people out there will think that mandreling necks is an unnecessary step, and that's why we have a full length die with that central stem through it. That's a reasonable point. There is no particular reason as to why I choose to do it this way, other than that I think that mandreling the necks gives me more consistency, and depending on which piece of equipment you use, it also gives you a little bit of flexibility as well. In today's video we're going to be using an L.E. Wilson mandrel set, but I also have a set here from APW, Axis Precision Works, out in South Africa, and I just wanted to show you this one briefly. The reason that I'm moving away from using this particular set, and it is a beautiful set, is purely because the mandrels are a little bit shorter, and sometimes they can, if you're not being careful, they can bottom out on the neck of the case and cause damage. But I'd wanted to show you that this is effectively what a mandrel is. So this is what's going to be opening up the necks on our cases. This one, the ones from APW are actually labelled. So this is a .306 mandrel. That's obviously for your 308 calibers. Not that that's one that I particularly use. However, in the L.E. Wilson ones, the mandrels are much longer, and I find that just gives me a bit more flexibility in how I set up the die, and effectively I maybe don't need to set it up quite so carefully to avoid the neck of the case riding all the way up the mandrel and potentially bottoming out on this area of the mandrel stem and damaging the case neck. So I'll go ahead and get this set up in the press now, and then be back to you shortly. Okay, so I've got my L.E. Wilson mandrel die now set up in my press. I'm using a standard shell holder. Doesn't need to be anything interesting about that one. Obviously I'm using one from Derico, but whatever shell holders you choose to use, you use. Something that you may choose to use is something similar to this. It's the Imperial dry neck lube. I'll open this up for you and you'll see it's like a graphite powder. These are tiny little ball bearings, which are actually the applicator media. It's the dry graphite powder within these tubs that's actually the lubricant. You can't really see it, unfortunately. But all you would normally do, I'm not going to be doing it this way, but I'm going to show you, is just get your neck, just dip it in a couple of times. You'll see, this is why I'm not doing it, that it's now coated in that dry graphite powder, and by dipping it in, it's gone inside. Camera doesn't want to focus, sorry. Let's see if I can show it here. No, it doesn't really want to focus. Then it's gone inside that neck as well. So you can do it that way. I'm not going to be doing it like that this morning. Only reason for that is this video follows straight on the back of the other one, where, if you remember, I use the Hornady one-shot lubricant. And one of the reasons that I like to use that lubricant is because by spraying it from an upward angle, I can make sure that some of it goes into the neck. Because I only did that very recently, I'm going to just use that same lubricant as part of this process. But if at any point I feel that the cases are galling on the mandrel, that's not going to be good, in which case I will revert back to using the dry media from Imperial. All we do, take one of our cases that we've just sized in our full length die, and I run it up into the mandrel. You'll feel it start to sit there. There we go, and that's getting it in over the neck. So those are quite tight. You can see how tight the full length sizing die gets those necks, and then bring it back over again. Me personally, I'll then run it over a second time, just because I like to double dip my cases, and that neck has now been expanded back out to the size that's going to be suitable for us for seating a bullet. That goes into our other case, and we repeat until we've done all of our cases. So carefully getting it over through the neck, and there it is, opened up again and back twice for good measure, and one sized neck. That's all there is to mandrel sizing. I said all it is setting your neck tension using a mandrel rather than the button on the central stem in your full length sizing die. I'm going to go ahead and get through all of these, and then we'll move on to the next step.